Santiago to Calama.
Our plane landed in Calama, and we really noticed the difference of the desert landscape. From there, we had a 1-hour van transfer.
We've arrived in Atacama. We've just settled into our hostel and now are on our way to the downtown area. The environment's very different from what we're used to. It's the little adobe houses made out of the mud. Very dusty, very windy around here, but looking forward to what we were going to see. The downtown area was extremely busy with tourists and outfitters selling the different tours, but it still retained its kind of rustic and very simple vibe. There were bicycles all over the place, lots of dogs.
Before coming to South America, this is actually kind of what I envisioned South America to be like.
Many people visit San Pedro de Atacama for the real variety of landscapes. And our first tour took us to the Antiplanic lagoons. It was about a 6-hour tour, and we saw along the way a number of volcanoes. We visited high altitude lakes, Lake Miscanti and Lake Minique.
This was our next stop at Lake Menicas, and it's above 4,000 meters.
Can you breathe?
Yeah.
On our trip out today, we've also crossed another latitude line, the Tropic of Capricorn. We reached an area of the salt flats, which was really quite spectacular. The flat salt area went on for miles, and the ground was all salt. We were able to hike through the salt flats along a trail.
It's the salt road.
We're at the salt flats and the ground is just covered in like salt.
We're here at Chaxa Lagoon, just outside Atacama, and we've stopped to take in the flamingos. There's 3 kinds of flamingos that like to be here, the Chilean, the James, and the Andean. And so, yeah, we're just enjoying their closeness.
This flamingo is an Andes flamingo. You know that because it has a black tail and white legs.
From the salt flats, we then started our second tour, which took us to another geographical area. We've just entered the Valley of the Moon Valley, just outside of Atacama. We're here on a tour. We're going to start our 1-hour hike, and what we've seen so far is the scenery is just awesome. There's no vegetation here, and it looks like we're on the moon, so I'm really excited to see what we're gonna see.
At Moon Valley, we hiked up a big sand dune, and when the wind blew, the sand would whip us so hard.
This hike reminds me of Angel's Landing at Zion in Utah, except considerably safer.
What's it look like, Lucy?
Looks like the moon.
It really felt like we were on the moon, or maybe even Mars. They tested the Mars rover in this area. From this angle, we can see the Colosseum. We also visited a salt mine that was remains from the 1950s, where they actually were mining this area for salt.
Most tours offered a sunset viewing over Moon Valley, and just so happened that we got to witness this twice. So you sit up at the top of this big hill and try not to fall off as the wind pushes you, and watch the sunset. Our third tour took us to the salt lagoons, and this was a really fun day. Arrived at Escondidas de Boltanoche, which is the 7 hidden lagoons, salt lagoons. And so the first one is right behind me here. We can swim in this one, and then we're going to tour the next ones, and we can swim in the last one.
I was the first to go in.
The water was cold, but quite refreshing. And it was a really weird feeling not to have to work at staying afloat.
When I got in, I really didn't trust the fact that I would be able to float, and so I kind of treaded water the entire time.
You don't even have to have your head down, eh? We practiced a little bit of synchro. So the salt really leaves an impression.
From the first lagoon, we then passed 5 more really pretty lagoons. These lagoons were quite beautiful because of their white outside and their very, very clear water on the inside. After a little bit, we did end up being able to float on our backs and our stomachs, but the difficult part was, once you got in one of those positions, it was difficult to get your feet back under you to flip yourself over.
It was amazing to see how thickly crusted the edges were with salt. They were solid, that we could climb in and out on these salt edges. There's so much salt in Dawn's shorts that they can stand up by themselves.
This morning we're here at the Tatio Geysers, just outside of Atacama, and these are the 3rd largest geothermal area in the world, behind Yellowstone, as well as another site over in Russia. It's -2 degrees today, so we've got our heavy layers on, but hopefully the sun will come out shortly and we'll start to warm up. In terms of altitude right now, we are at 4,300 meters, so it's a little bit of thin air up here, but should be a good day.
What was nice about these geysers was it didn't smell like sulfur, like Yellowstone.
We're gonna lose Alice in the steam here. Where's Alice?
Hey, there she is.
Yay.
It was very impressive, but kind of a little bit disappointing after we've already visited Yellowstone.
In one of the areas, the ground was hot. We just wanted to lay down and get warmed up. It was hot because of the bubbling water underneath.
The name of this geyser was the Murderer. Just some more foam. Woo! This one is called the Shell. It was my favorite just because of the rock formation in the center.
So we've come back from our little walk around the geysers, and we had a beautiful breakfast here with some hot tea and eggs and fresh bread.
There was a hot springs here, but we chose not to swim in it. The air was still quite cool, and we were looking forward to swimming in different hot springs in the afternoon. We saw a number of vicuñas along the way. Those were kind of fun to see.
Vicuñas are kind of like llamas and alpacas, but they are extremely wild and untamable. Kind of like the guanacos, but the difference between a guanaco and a vicuña is that a vicuñas are high altitude.
Stopped here, so just take a look at my hair and don't laugh at this moment, but a little oasis here in the desert where water has been trapped by the landform with springs of light. You can see vicuña on the far side, some ducks, some wildlife, and even a flamingo or two. But in the background behind me you see the Petuna volcano. It's the 2nd most active volcano here.
We're here in Machuco, population 10, I think, but they appeal to the tourist trade by selling brochettes of llama. So we're going to try the llama meat today. Pretty good, different, a little bit gamey, but still delicious. You got to get to the whole piece. Oh. Actually, no, not gamey at all. It's red meat. It's pretty good.
We're at the Puritana Hot Springs, and we're just about to walk down. There's a number of different pools that we're going to explore. An altitude of 3,500 meters, and should be a good afternoon. Pretty nice sunny day. Hope the hot springs are not too hot. So we've made it to the first pool. We're just gonna test the waters and see how it is. What do you say, Lucy?
It's not hot, that's almost better. Really nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's on a hot day. Like it's refreshing but not cold. Oh, there goes an Alice one. Not a bad way to spend New Year's Eve. We
Just chillaxing in this nice warm water. Beautiful setting.
especially after a 4 a.m. wake-up call.
I caught a minnow. And then I left him over there.
Hey. Lift it out.
You got one, Alice. Good job. Woo, woo.
It was kind of like Liard Hot Springs, but just more sunnier and no bears.
The water wasn't quite as warm here though as it was at Liard.
The pools were smaller and a little more shallow.
There it is.
In almost all of them, there was a waterfall, and it was really fun to go under and get my head soaked.
After such a busy day visiting geysers and hot springs, we expected to have a quiet New Year's. But the owners of our hostel enjoyed putting on a New Year's party and invited us to attend. We started with a wonderful dinner of turkey and like a scalloped potato. A wonderful Chilean New Year's tradition that I would love to bring back to Burlington is what we call the Burning Man. Different houses or groups make almost like a scarecrow. And during the day, people are invited to write down all of their bad memories or bad things that happened in that year. After you have written down your memories or thoughts from the previous year, you tuck this piece of paper somewhere inside the scarecrow, into his pocket or his hat or whatever. At midnight, they light the scarecrow on fire, often with fireworks, and the belief is that all of these bad memories and thoughts are burned away, and you start the year fresh.
We partied with people from all over the world. There was Mexicans, Chileans, Argentinians,
Japanese,
German, French.
It was a wonderful and very special way to ring in the new year, and one that we will certainly remember.
Right now it is 10:30 and we have just boarded our overnight bus from Calama to Arica. This is our first of many bus rides over the next 3 days, which will take us to Cusco, Peru.